So, Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki was pretty goddamn fucking good, wasn't it? I'm Charles Martin with my review of AEW Rampage. The rest of the show was a bit of a mixed bag in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on this show in the comments, please. A strange night of Friday Night Wrestling because I had a buy-in for AEW Rampage, and also the first match on AEW Rampage. Okay, I'll stop doing that. Went head-to-head with Supersized SmackDown that I also reviewed. You can check that out if you want to, and I'm going to say the same thing here that I said there. Guys, you can watch what you want to watch. AEW, WWE, New Japan, whatever brand you watch, you can watch multiple brands, one brand. Just don't be the fucking type of fan that says, oh, if you don't like my favorite company, my favorite wrestlers or whatever, you don't like everything I like and agree with me, like you're a goddamn Stepford wife, like you're a goddamn, clone or whatever, and you have to follow every goddamn command, everything I fucking think. Don't be like that. We can like what we want to fucking like. We can critique what we don't like. And if people want to disagree with you and be jackasses, fuck them. Just be a cool fan. Be cool with people. Let's have, some really fun discussions. I've loved talking to people at indie shows and on social media and everything. Whether we agree or disagree on anything, it's just fun to have some really good chats. So let's enjoy some goddamn good wrestling. Now, there was some good wrestling on this show. Well, technically 2 shows because they had the buy-in and then they had Rampage. But there was also some stuff where I'm like, wow, they really kind of shit the bed on this. Anyway, I am looking forward to seeing what the ratings were, and I hope that all the talents, they just, were all amped up, because there was a special feel to this show, and there was also a special feel to some aspects of Supersized SmackDown. So anyway, enough of that. Excalibur and Starks and Taz on commentary. They run down the card, and it's Ty Conte versus Santana Garrett. I hope she got rid of those flags that she had in that video where, it was taken, and they were on a particular boat. Not the banana boat, but oh boy, they weren't really a good look for somebody that you would think wouldn't have had her head up her goddamn ass, but apparently, like some wrestlers, she really does. I think you know what I'm fucking saying. That being said, her red hair kind of falls in line with her way of thinking. This is how they start the buy-in. You know what? It was what it was. It wasn't bad. Santana Garrett can work, but Ty Conte, yeah, her matches get a little bit formulaic. I mean, you could really say that about anybody, but Ty at least has some spice to her moves. And Santana did fine. They did some good, momentum switches. And then we got a boot in the corner, multiple boots in the corner, and DD Ty 1, 2, 3. It was what it was. It wasn't bad. Pre-tape on the 6-man tag. This went a while, but they did show Junior Dos Santos doing some training and everything since he's going to make his pro wrestling debut on Rampage. So, Lee Moriarty took on Bobby Fish. I see why people have praised Lee Moriarty. It's really hard for me to say that for some goddamn reason, even though I'm a fan of Sherlock Holmes, so I might just say Lee M. Maybe I might just start calling him the submission master, next to Zack Sabre Jr., because he's really goddamn good. I see why people praise him. Bobby Fish, he worked well here. Bobby, though, I think really only has maybe a year or 2 left before he's got to hang it up, because he's kind of a little bit off. There were some nice throws. And eventually a buzzsaw kick to the head, 1, 2, 3, Bobby Fish got the victory. Now, that being said, Lee Moriarty apparently got signed to AEW. Good for him. Seriously, good for him. The guy has skills. He has impressed people in that company, impressed people before, so good on him, and hopefully he gets a shine. Put him on Dark Elevation if you have to at first, but especially get this guy on, Rampage again, and get him, to where he's going to have some quality matches, because the guy, even for as young as he is, and not being on a big national stage, the guy has the poise, and he is pretty goddamn good. So anyway, we have pre-tape on Bryan Danielson. Sorry, I'm trying not to call him Daniel Bryan. I'm really trying not to. And talking about how he's going to inflict violence and mayhem on Suzuki, which is easier said than done. And Kaza Ninare, big pop for Minoru Suzuki. And Bryan came out to a pop, and Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki. Very good. One of my favorite matches of the year, especially in AEW. This is stuff you could have put on pay-per-view and it would have drawn. And the fact that they put this on YouTube, okay, bold, they got eyeballs, and this is a way to hook people for Rampage. And considering how they started Rampage, it was a pretty good idea. It was a pretty good idea to do this match. I will say that it did end kind of suddenly, but it also makes sense given... And Suzuki... He may say he has a few years left. I think he's got maybe a year left. I think he's got till Wrestle Kingdom 2023. Even though he can still go to an extent, you could tell that he was having a blast. Bryan was having a blast. They had faced off, I guess, in 2004, apparently, where Bryan had said he kicked the shit out of him, as Suzuki was known to do. The crowd pops before the bell, when the bell rings, and all through the goddamn match. Yes, and see, Chance, I don't know why they just didn't do hi. considering Japanese, but it was what it was. So then again, there is a heavy Hispanic population in in and around Miami, I imagine. So maybe that's why they were doing it. So nice strikes, good submission trades. There was a lot of strike trading. Then after that, I mean, some of those things really sound like they fucking hurt. Their wrists are not meant to bend that way, is what I wrote down. It was a nice hammerlock. And then, kicks, and Suzuki was just enjoying himself, really, really feeling himself. Stop thinking about Suzuki fans. I know you're thinking about it. LaBelle lock and, fight forever, chance no. They would literally get tired. They would die. Stop wanting fans or wrestlers to die in the ring. More back and forth, good lord. And then the psycho knee, or whatever it's called. I'm just going to call it the psycho knee. 1, 2, 3, and Bryan Danielson gets the victory. Good stuff. They do another pre-tape, and we have Matt Sydal making his entrance as we close the buy-in for Rampage. And then, main show, Sydal's already in the ring. Punk comes out to a pop, cult personality, and it's CM Punk versus Matt Sydal. They faced off, I want to say it was on Raw in 2010, and it was nice that they got to face off here. And in all seriousness, this was about as well wrestled as you would expect, considering Sydal obviously has more left in the tank. Now, Punk is easing back into it, and it was well wrestled. It was another issue that I had kind of with the Daniel Garcia match, and the match with Daniel Garcia was good, but I felt went a couple minutes too long. I kind of felt this one went a little bit too long. But then again, considering they only had 3 matches on this show, and they started right off, and they did this commercial free, I get why they had to go as long as they did. It was good. It was well wrestled, as you would expect. Sydal was kind of the de facto heel, and slam on the apron. Don't know why you would do that, why you would do any of that. The Eddie Santon, roll Santon over the ropes, Eddie chants, and that was really nice. Kind of a callback to when Punk faced Eddie, I believe, at a couple, was it Ring of Honor or IWA? I think it was IWA. I think it was actually, because Ring of Honor didn't actually start until Eddie was already back in the company, unless he made those indie shots when he came back to WWE. But I know he faced Punk, and I know Punk talked about it in his documentary. And, snap Rana off the top for 2. We get a nice ankle lock variation into a clutch, but Punk rolls into the vice. And then we get a lightning spiral. Nobody kicks out a lightning spiral except CM Punk, and then eventually hits a GTS 1, 2, 3. Show respect. Moving on. Punk wins. So, Dark Order pre-tape. They are challenging the Super Elite, because they don't want them interfering and facing off against, interfering and costing Adam Hangman Page the title at Full Gear. I'm going to say right now I'm of 2 minds on this. If they don't give Adam Hangman Page the title at Full Gear, the bloom's going to be off the rose. I'm all for long-term storytelling, and considering, we go back to last year, 2020, when you had Omega beat Page and in the finals of the World Title Eliminator Tournament, and then he beat Moxley shortly afterwards. You could do that. And also you go back to the fact that they were tag team champions and they did what they did, and even well before that. I'm all for it, but they got to pull the trigger on this thing, because otherwise I don't think you can wait till Revolution. You could try, but I think the fans might get upset. Now, the fans did pop big for Hangman, and I'm all for them giving him the championship, because otherwise, again, I think they're going to blow it. So, Destination, Ruby Soho facing the Bunny, and Ruby tried to make this work. The Bunny has a good look and has good personality. She did hit a nice German off the ropes, I will say that, but by and large, she really isn't that good in the ring. Ruby ends up winning with a backslide, and then they have an aftermath. Been there, done that, the aftermath. Penelope blindsides Ruby and then fists her, very, very hard, and Ruby stays down. And whenever a dirty blonde fists you, you're going to stay down. Don't ask me how I know that, and always delete your search history. They run down the Dynamite card, and by the way, the brackets for the TBS Women's Tournament are going to be announced next Friday on Rampage. And also, Dynamite is going to be tomorrow, and is also going to be next Saturday because of the NBA playoffs. It is going to be nice that Dynamite will be on TBS, because maybe we won't get that stuff interrupted that often. Except maybe for baseball. Is TBS still at baseball? I think so. So Henry does the split screen thing. Mark Henry may be the most pointless signing that they've done, as far as a backstage person. I don't think he fits. They already have too many announcers as it is. And he's not really a natural. He's just not. So let's hear it for the Judas. And let's have, Lambert, the sheepish lion Dan Lambert, cut off Justin Roberts and yell over the booze and try to get his material out. And then we get the Insurrection Circle along with Sammy Guevara taking on the Men of the Year, not by Zebrahead, and also Junior Dos Santos. And boy, this is not good. This wasn't good. The rest of America, is it America's top team or America's top team? I think, is it America's top team? Seriously, is that what it is? They were all sitting at ringside. Paige Van Sant with, her pink properly displayed. Jorge Masvidal, he's in the corner. I know some about MMA. I don't mean to disrespect these names. And there were a couple of other people also that were there, and it just... Sammy shined whenever he was in the goddamn ring, like Mario Sunshine. Okay, I'm done with that. Sammy shined whenever he was there. He did great shit in the beginning. Did great shit when he got a hot tag. Jericho is fucking washed. He is really washed. Everybody had to basically come to him. They had to just do what they could. Junior Dos Santos is a tremendous athlete and was great in the UFC. Did a lot of really good shit. And is legit tough. This is not a great way to feature him. Because he was pulling his punches, obviously he wasn't really going to punch people. Wrestling, even though it is tough and people suffer injuries, it is as much of a work as possible. But when he worked with Hager, good fucking God, Hager looked like, a goddamn cow on ice. Jericho couldn't do anything. Sammy had to carry the whole goddamn thing because the rest of the Insurrection Circle was thinking about, where could they be on January 6, 2022? Don't fucking try that. Like Jericho's wife and mother-in-law tried that whole thing, but Jericho doesn't want to address it. I wonder why. Probably because he's a piece of shit, just like the rest of the Irvine family. So anyway, and that includes his bastard kids. So, he tries to do a line salt, barely makes it. And then the camera missed Sammy doing a dive while Hager put Dos Santos through a table about as lazily as possible. And it was down Jericho and Sky, and then Paige Van Sant does a distraction. And then Jorge does that running knee down Jericho before. Scorpio covers 1, 2, 3. And then America's top team runs down and they beat the shit out of, or the rest of them beat up. It's kind of like, an NWO invasion, except at least these guys have talent, unlike, It sort of works unlike when the Elite, because America's top team isn't necessarily as annoying. So, eventually Santana and Ortiz show up because I guess their bus was late, and they show up like about, 8 years later after this beatdown kept going, and they run them off. I guess we're going to get a 5-on-5 thing. Maybe Paige Van Sant will get in there, and she'll definitely be better, a better worker than Jericho at this point. Anyway, it was a messy Rampage, sorry. Anyway, that's about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.